Yo, what is good people? Ben from Lover of Tech, and we are back with another video. This time, camera comparison. Pixel Fold versus the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Yes, I know, the Fold 5 is just around the corner, but for now we're going to double back and compare these two and see, because Google are confident that this is going to be the best camera you can find on a foldable device. So let's test them. Daylight, low light, pictures and videos. Let's run through the camera specs quickly, come back to the comparison. Let's do a quick breakdown of the camera hardware and specs, starting with the Pixel Fold. It is using a 48 megapixel main sensor, a 10.8 megapixel ultra wide, a 10.8 megapixel 5x zoom, and a 9.5 megapixel cover display selfie, as well as an 8 megapixel in the display selfie. The Galaxy Fold 4 is using a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 10 megapixel 3x zoom, a 10 megapixel selfie, and a 4 megapixel under display camera for the inner display. The best way to watch this camera comparison is at the highest resolution at 4K and frame rate, which is 60 frames a second. There will be chapters linked in the description below, but sit back, relax, and watch this and see how this camera comparison goes. So we are now starting with the front-facing camera in 4K UHD, 60 frames a second. This is with the outer cover display. And again, just seeing how the image quality, stabilization, colors and detail are like. Quick run. We've now switched to the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recording mode. And again, just seeing how the image quality, stabilization, dynamic range, colors and detail are like. Quick run. We've now switched to the 1080p 30 frames per second video recording mode, but this time the Galaxy Z Fold 4 is actually recording in the video portrait mode with the background blur effect. Cinematic video and background video blur is not available on the Pixel Fold in any of the lenses, whether it be the main or the selfie, zoom or the ultra wide. So this is an advantage for the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4. We are now in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recording mode on the rear cameras for the Pixel Fold and the Galaxy Z Fold 4. And again, just seeing how the image quality, stabilization, detail, colors, dynamic range is like. Quick run. Let's switch to the ultra wide, as you are able to do that on the fly. Looks like a smoother transition to the ultra wide on the Pixel Fold. Quick run. Let's get back to the main sensor. Slight differences in the zoom capabilities and options. We've got the 3x, 2x, and then you've got the 5x periscope zoom. Still very much like the Pixel 7 Pro, where there is a slight delay in the switch to the periscope zoom lens, but you can see that you do get further reach on the Pixel Fold. Back to the main. Back to the main. Now, here's the advantage that you do have with the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Although you can switch between all the lenses at the back, pause and record, as well as obviously take pictures on the same clip on both these phones, the Galaxy Z Fold 4 does allow you to switch to the selfie while still recording on the same clip. This is still a limitation on the Pixel Fold. And we're now testing the 4K UHD 60 frames per second video recording mode on the Pixel Fold and the Galaxy Z Fold 4, seeing how the image quality, stabilization, dynamic range is like, and if there's any changes. Quick run. Here's some things to consider when it comes to how both these phones behave in 4K 60. The Pixel Fold does allow you to switch between all the lenses at the back on the same clip without stopping recording. So you're on the ultra wide, main, 2x, which is the digital crop on the main. And then if you go to 5x, you can see that it changes. This is a massive advantage for the Pixel Fold. But the Z Fold 4 does allow you to switch to the selfie whilst doing 4K 60 recording on the same clip. So you can see both have their strengths and weaknesses and how they handle 4K 60. Right, we are still in 4K 60 frames a second, but this time we're using the 5x zoom versus the 3x zoom with the Pixel Fold versus the Z Fold 4. Now, the Z Fold 4 doesn't actually allow you to shoot 4K 60 on the ultra wide. This is a limitation that's actually been there from before. So there is more flexibility in the shooting modes for the rear cameras in 4K 60 with the Pixel Fold. So again, you can go straight to the ultra wide, main, 2x, back to the 5x zoom. And this is literally the limitation and the strength of both cameras when comparing the two. So we're now in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode, but this time with the rear cameras with me in the frame as a subject, just seeing how it deals with a human subject in a frame and their environment, image quality stabilization, colors, dynamic range and detail. So we're still in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode, but this time on an ultra wide angle lens. Again, just seeing the image quality difference between the two. So we're now testing the 4K UHD 60 frames a second video recorder mode just on the main lens, as the Z Fold 4 does have the limitation of not being able to record 4K 60 on the ultra wide, and just seeing how the image quality is like between the two at 4K UHD 60. We're now in the 1080p 30 frames a second video recording mode with the rear camera with me in the frame as the subject. But again, this time, the Galaxy Z Fold 4 does have the advantage of recording with video portrait mode with the background of blur effect. Again, it's just on the main camera, but the Z Fold 4 can do this on a 3x portrait zoom lens as well. We are now in the 1080p 30 frames a second video recording mode. This time it's with the inner display selfie cameras and just seeing how the image quality is like. We are now in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recording mode on the Pixel Fold versus the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Let's start with the main rear cameras. Seeing how the low light performance is like. Let's switch to the ultra wide. Both. And back to the main. Smooth transition. Now testing out the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recording mode on the outer display selfies on the Pixel Fold and the Z Fold 4. Let's start things off with the daytime landscape photos, starting with the ultra wide images. A few things you'll notice between the two. First of all, the Fold 4 does have a wider field of view with a more saturated look. The Pixel Fold, on the other hand, has a more detailed image, better dynamic range, and subjectively a more balanced color. When moving to the main wide sensor, the same characteristics remain, with the most noticeable improvement for the Fold 4 with much better detail and HDR. When comparing the 2x zoom crop mode on the main sensor, both take a drastic loss in detail but still keep the same characteristics as before. In the 3x zoom mode, the Fold 4 switches over to its dedicated zoom lens, while the Pixel is still applying a digital zoom, which favors the Fold 4. On the flip side, pun intended,
When in the 5x zoom mode, the Pixel Fold switches to its dedicated zoom lens, while the Fold 4 is applying a digital crop to its 3x zoom lens, which favors the Pixel Fold. In the extended zoom range at 10x zoom, thanks to Google's Super Res Zoom tech, it produces a much cleaner image compared to the Fold 4. Although the Fold 4 can match the 20x zoom in distance and push further to 30x zoom, the overall integrity of the image produced by the Pixel Fold is better. When looking at this close-up shot of the flower, since there is no macro mode available on both, the test for natural blur and minimum focus is more of a challenge, with both producing good images. Let me know which one you prefer in the comment section below. Time for some selfies, and in this case things take a unique turn. On one hand, I like the overall wider field of view from the Fold 4, and on the other hand, the more contrasty look of the Pixel Fold hits nicely as well. Hard to pick between the two. Same goes for portrait mode, as both have a nice pleasing background blur effect and great edge detection. Where I might favor the Fold 4 more is the process of capturing portrait mode images, as you do see it in real time and can change the blur intensity and blur type before capturing. Considering the resolution and the UDC nature of the in-display selfie on the Fold 4, the image processing holds up very well for the final image, but overall, the Pixel Fold does produce a better image and also has the advantage of taking portrait selfies, which the Fold 4 cannot do with the in-display selfie. Last set of daylight shots with the rear cameras with me in the frame as the subject. The Fold 4 does carry on the consistency of a more vibrant image compared to the more balanced and neutral look of the Pixel Fold. It does surprisingly control the skin tones better than expected, but the Pixel Fold wins it here. Again, for the ultra wide, you do get a slightly wider field of view with the Fold 4, with both holding the same image characteristics from the previous shot. When moving to portrait mode, the Pixel Fold does have a significant crop when comparing both their 1x mode and does struggle with the gap in between my arms when it comes to adding the blur, which is not an issue for the Fold 4. In fact, when moving to the 3x zoom portrait mode on the Fold 4 compared to the 2x on the Pixel, it took multiple tries for the Pixel Fold to work, and even then it missed the gap in between my arms, and the edge detection is more consistent on the Fold 4. Let's move over to the low light images, starting with the landscape shots. When looking at the ultra wide in low light without night mode active, apart from the color tones being different with the Fold 4 holding a warmer look compared to the cooler look of the Pixel Fold, both images are very soft. When moving to the main wide sensor, things clean up better on both, with the Fold 4 holding a sharper image. Still without night mode active, when looking at the extended zoom modes at 2x, 3x, and 5x, the Fold 4 looks to produce a cleaner image. Consider in this situation, both are cropping on the main sensor and not using their dedicated zoom lenses. With night mode active on the ultra wide, the noise, detail, and exposure on both are greatly improved, with the reverse being true for the color tones. On the main wide sensor, with night mode active, the Pixel Fold produces a more natural look to nighttime compared to the Fold 4, pushing a higher exposure level, which in turn blows out more of the highlights. For low light selfies, images were captured with the outer cover display front camera, first without night mode, then with night mode, and then followed by the front screen flash. The same capture sequence was replicated for portrait mode, and I will say overall, the Fold 4 produced the better images, especially without night mode. Last set of low light photos with the rear camera with me in the frame as the subject. Without night mode active, starting with the ultra wide, things are very comparable, with the main differences being a slightly wider field of view on the Fold 4 and slightly less noise. When moving to the main wide sensor, both produce a much cleaner image, with the Fold 4 producing more warmer tones compared to the more neutral, cleaner tones of the Pixel Fold. With night mode active on the ultra wide, the final image is greatly improved. I will say the Pixel Fold produces a better final image by managing the highlights better and adjusting the color tones in a better way. Night mode on the main wide sensor is a slight improvement from before, with the Pixel Fold producing a more in-focus image. when looking at portrait mode on both with and without night mode active on the main sensor, I will say I prefer the Pixel Fold without night mode and then the Fold 4 with night mode. Let's now conclude with the video performance, starting off with the Selfie. And in terms of overall quality, both phones do a great job and have their strengths. The Fold 4 does have a slightly wider field of view for the outer cover display selfie and does have the advantage of shooting video portrait mode in 1080p 30 frames a second, but I will say I prefer the colors from the Pixel Fold. Although both the inner display selfie cameras are limited to 1080p video, the overall quality is better on the Pixel Fold. When it comes to the rear cameras for video, props to Google for still being one of few phones with the Pixel Fold that allows you to switch between the rear lenses while recording in 4K 60 on the same clip. This is still a limitation on the Fold 4, and in fact, the Fold 4 does not have the ability to record 4K 60 on the ultra wide angle lens. Where Samsung does well in video here is the flexibility to switch to the selfie camera and back to the rear camera all on the same clip without stopping recording, and offers the most flexible recording experience up to 4K 30, and it's also still with the advantage of being able to record video portrait mode on a 1x and a 3x lens in 1080p 30. That is it with this ultimate camera comparison between the Pixel Fold and the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. That's it for me, Ben from Lover of Tech. If you enjoy videos like this, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're part of Team TLS, the Tech Lover Squad, so you don't miss any future videos on the channel. I hope you're all safe during this time. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.